Hello, Wendy Byford here from HMM Business Coaching. I know I haven't seen you for a while, and that's why today I wanted to talk about what happens when family and business collide. Now, if you are an entrepreneur who is running a business already, then you may have actually come up against some of the things I'm going to be talking about. If you're brand new to business, brand new to being an entrepreneur, then hopefully this will give you some things to think about in case this ever becomes an issue for you. Family and business colliding happens all the time. Emergencies come up. And I'm not talking about your child gets suspended from school, so you have to go meet with the teacher, which means you miss a meeting. Maybe you have a couple or 3 days that are inconvenient. I'm talking about when you have emergencies that go on, not for hours, not for days, but for weeks and sometimes for months, maybe for some of you, even for years. I've been through several of these emergencies, not once, not twice, 3 major emergencies with a 4th coming up, and several smaller ones. And so I want to talk to you today about how to handle those types of situations. When you are scaling a business, you've got it running, you're ramping it, it's starting to come together the way you want. And when you're just getting started, you're brand new and you've got a business idea and you're just getting it off the ground and something happens. What do you do? Well, let me go back many years and explain to you what happened and why I'm thinking about this and tell you what it is that we did. And hopefully some of this will help you. Now, many of you know that I built a 7-figure business starting in 2005. And we built it using some of the strategies that I teach as a business coach. The thing was that about 6 months before our 10th anniversary, my husband came out one day, sat down in my office, and he didn't look quite right. Now, we normally started early in the morning so we could get a leg up before the staff came in. And my husband was looking a little peaked. And I said to him, "Is everything okay?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm shivering, but I'm sweating." Now, something in my mind said, this is really bad. We need to do something. And so I said to him, "Do you want to call the doctor?" Well, it was too early to call the doctor. The office wouldn't be open. And so I said, "Okay, let's go to the emergency room." So I grabbed it through a few things, locked everything up, put my husband in the car, and we zoomed off to the hospital. Now, fortunately, the hospital is only 10 minutes from us. I dropped my husband off at the emergency room door. He was ambulatory, he could walk. So he walked in, and by the time I'd finished parking the car and gathering up everything and got in there, he was being wheeled into the back. Now, fortunately, the emergency room had been pretty much empty that day. And so we went in the back. They hooked him up to all of these monitors, and I could hear the nurse saying, "I don't like this." And so when the student doctor came in, he looked at it, he went and got the other doctor. Meanwhile, I'm trying to give everybody our insurance information, and they're starting to wheel him away to do an angiogram. You see, the problem was my husband was having a major heart attack, and we had had no signs of anything being wrong. It was, to us, an almost impossible situation because he exercised, we ate right, we were pescatarians, we ate vegetables and a little bit of fish. We didn't drink, we didn't smoke. I mean, all of the things that you're supposed to do to be healthy didn't matter. He was having a major heart attack. Now, after they finished the angiogram and they brought me in to explain that they were taking him away across the valley for emergency heart surgery, the first thing, obviously, that I thought about was, okay, we need to do damage control. Now, at this point in time, your mind is reeling. You're not really sure what's happening. The doctor wasn't even sure that he would pull through. And so business is really the last thing on your mind. We had had a conversation many years before with our staff that family always came first. And so when our staff had problems with children, with husbands, with whatever it was, we always said, "Fine, pack up your desk, tell us where you are, we'll handle everything until you get back," because family always came first. It was one of our core values. And now here I was in the middle of a family emergency. And so what I needed to do at that point, after taking several deep breaths while I was sitting in the car getting ready to go across the valley to the other hospital, was to first not beat myself up about what was going to happen and how is this going to work and all the rest of it, because frankly that just freezes your mind and you stop thinking at that point. So I had to take several deep breaths, calm down, get centered, call my husband's sister to let her know what was going on, make arrangements for her husband to catch her as she got off a plane so she would have a phone to call him before he went into surgery. Get all of the family stuff organized, go across the valley to the hospital, give them all the information that they needed, go up to the ICU, and then as my husband was waiting to go into surgery, at that point, call the office, let everybody know what's happening, and then start assigning tasks. Now, fortunately, we had the number one thing that you need when something like this happens. We had support. We had an outstanding staff of people who jumped right in and said, don't worry about it, we've got it covered. I figured in my mind that I needed probably a couple of days before I could get back into the office. And they were very good at handling everything for those couple of days, rescheduling appointments, doing what needed to be done, getting all of that set up. Perfect. So not beating myself up, handling the family stuff first, and then handling the business actually worked out very well. After the 2 days, my husband went through surgery. The surgery went very well, but he had to stay they had to keep him in a coma for a week because he had AFib and they were having difficulty removing the balloon pump that was in him. During that time, I could spend time in the hospital in the afternoons and be in the office in the morning. So another thing we had to figure out was, when did the business need me most? What time of day? And what time of day could I then leave and go to the hospital? And so I knew that first thing in the morning, getting everybody organized, making sure that all of the stuff that had come in was being handled, getting everything under control, making sure that the staff had all of their questions answered and they had everything that they needed to keep going. At that point in the early afternoon, I could close up my desk and leave and go to the hospital. So perfect. We could handle that. And we did that. After my husband came home, he had to obviously spend a couple of weeks in ICU and then in intermediate care. And then with some therapy, he could leave the hospital and come home. And then it was several weeks of getting back in shape. And we ran the office as normal. My husband's duties I took over. I reassigned some of the duties that the rest of the staff could look after, and we handled everything perfectly well. Fortunately, we had a home-based business. The staff came to us, so it was easy for me to leave, go see if my husband needed help, and handle that, and then come back and work on the business, and everything worked out fine. Of course, if you're in a situation where you have an outside office, you may need to bring some of that office home for a little while if you have a family emergency. So that actually worked out very well. And the thing that I knew that I needed to have, in addition to a really positive mindset, this is all going to work out, in addition to being able to have the correct support, I also needed to manage my energy. And this is something that often we don't think about. We don't think about managing our energy. Mindset is pretty obvious, because if you start down that rabbit hole of, oh my God, what's going to happen, you're never going to come out again. So please, if you are in a situation like this, or you think you may be at some point, do not go down that rabbit hole. Because if you do, you're going to get so caught up in the what ifs that you aren't going to be able to do any problem solving. You aren't going to be able to schedule anything. You aren't going to be able to find any solutions. You're just going to be caught up in that, oh my God, what happens if? So don't go there. It's tempting, I know, just don't go there. Keep it positive. This is going to work out. These are the things that I need to do, have to keep going. And if you have friends or business colleagues that can help you out, lean on them. It's perfectly fine. Everybody goes through something like this at some point in their life. So lean on the support that you have. I fortunately, as I said, had wonderful staff. I also had great friends. One of our friends was an exceptionally good nurse. She had been a PA at one point. She'd been an ICU nurse. She'd been an emergency room nurse. She'd done everything, and she was a rock. So lean into those types of people. And then manage your energy. Because if you are pulled in so many directions that your energy is completely gone by the time you go to the hospital, that doesn't help whoever it is that you're there to support. If you need to look after a husband and a business, if you don't manage your energy, then it's not going to help. So what you need is to make sure that you have quiet time. If you meditate, carve out time in the hospital to sit quietly and meditate. Make sure that you eat and that what you eat is healthy food. You can go back to the hamburgers and the pizza later, but right now you need energy. So make sure that you have protein powders and things that will give you energy so that you can manage that energy. And then make sure that you're not getting sucked into the drama, which is going to suck out that energy. Don't deal with the drama. If there is an issue, look at what your alternatives are and decide your best course of plan. If you're not sure, you can always lean into your support group to ask them for their opinions. Do not get sucked into the drama. Okay, so my husband recovered fully from his heart attack. He had a quintuple bypass. That's like 5 of a possible 6 arteries that are replaced. And he came back, no problem. And the business continued. We did very well. We kept scaling, we kept growing. And then in 2018, I believe it was April, my husband had really a terrible episode. He woke up and he couldn't speak. His speech was slurred, and of course, you all know what happens in that event. I called 911. We got him to the hospital. They scanned his brain. They found out he had a clot. They wanted to go in and suck it out and found out that there was a kink in that part of the brain. They could not get to it. And so he unfortunately had to see whether or not the blood clot would clear up on its own. And what he did was become paralyzed completely on his left side. So he really was in a situation where it was there was nothing that he could do to help with his therapy. They said, bring in games, and it took him in solitaire an hour to move a card. So we really didn't know what was going to happen. When you have a massive stroke like that, you can recover or not. Nobody can tell. So we're back into the plan again. Fortunately, we still have support in the office. And so we're back into what do we need to do for the family, get all of that sorted, and then what do we need to do for the business, and back into splitting our time while he is in ICU, and then while he's in recovery, and while he's in therapy. And so 2 major episodes, 4 years apart, but pretty much the same formula. Don't get sucked into the drama. Figure out what needs to happen for the family first, and then for the business. Lean into support and manage your energy. Now, you might think, well, 2 is enough for any family to go through. But the interesting thing was that in the end of 2019, we had decided that we were going to start a new business. So the other business we knew was going to start to wind down. And we had a choice to make of whether we were going to do some JVs and bring that business back up, or whether we were going to start a new business. And we had made the decision to start a new business and to allow our previous business to settle out at a lower level that we could easily manage. And so we started the other business, and just as we were making the determination as to exactly what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, my husband had seizures. We were actually out at a seminar. It was the last day of the seminar. That evening, we were leaving to go to a different seminar where we were going to be a vendor, and my husband had a seizure. And so we called 911. Fortunately, we were in the Phoenix area. They took us to the Mayo Clinic. The Mayo guys were absolutely fantastic. He woke up, came out of the seizure, had no idea what had happened, but was perfectly happy. And they gave us a regimen for him to make sure that it didn't happen again. So small thing, small hiccup. We stayed where we were a couple of days just to monitor him, and then moved on to the next seminar, and everything worked out. So again, plan what to do with the family, what to do for the business. Second, lean into support and manage the energy. So now you think that would be enough, right? Well, we had a couple more scares with strokes, but they were small, and so they were easily managed, and only a few hours to find out whether or not things were going to be okay. And managing the business was no problem. When we get to this year, we're now in 2022. We've been running the businesses from home now for a while. There's no problem. We put everything in the cloud so people can work from home. They don't have to be with us. Everything has been going well. And my husband ended up with a broken hip. So now this is planned. This isn't an emergency. This is a planned problem where family and business are colliding. Because with a broken hip, what happens is that the person goes in for surgery, and then you have a recovery period of several weeks. And the first month, you are pretty much a full-time caretaker. And so, same thing. My husband had his surgery a few weeks ago, and we set it up so that I could handle the business until he could actually get to a point where he could sit in his office without too much pain, and he could take over his duties, and we could continue. Now, we're getting ready for the fourth bump in the road, which is he's going to have a knee replacement, and it'll be the same thing. This time we can plan. We know approximately how long he's going to be out of commission. So it will be a few weeks when I'm doing my work and his work, and then he'll be able to sit in his office, and while he's recovering, do his work, and still I'll be there to look after him. So when family and business collide, sometimes what happens is we want to use it as an excuse. We want to use it as a, well, I can't build my business because this happened, or I can't do this because this happened. And I would challenge you to take a really hard look at what it is that you can do. When my husband was having his hip surgery, we had no idea he had a broken hip. And so I was in the middle of building the coaching business and was told by the doctor that he had a broken hip and he needed surgery. Well, we could have said, okay, well, we're just going to put everything on hold. We're going to continue on with the other businesses, and we're just going to leave this for a while. But that was actually just an excuse, because I could have certain periods of time after the first month when I could do things, when I could attend things, when I could call people, when I could be in a networking meeting. And so it's simply a matter of understanding when these things happen, what you can and what you can't do, being realistic. If family is an important value for you, put your family first, figure out what needs to be done for them, and then what you can do for your business to keep it going. But keep that mindset positive. Keep looking at the future that you want to build. Manage your energy so that you don't get totally depleted, which is going to lead you down that rabbit hole, right? When you're tired and you just don't know what's going to happen next, it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole. Don't go there. Manage your energy, manage your mindset, and lean into the people who are there to support you, and you'll get through it. Okay, that's what I had to say today. If you've got stories that you want to share or comments that you'd like to make, please make them. below on the YouTube channel. Would love to hear from you. And I am doing business coaching. So if you would like to get a copy of my book, it's in ebook format, then just go to www.hmmbusinessstrategies.com, pick up the book, and let me know if you would like to chat further. Okay, everyone, have an absolutely awesome day, and thank you so much.